Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Alina Islam, and I'm a mining analyst here at Red Cloud Securities. I'm very excited to present Foremost Clean Energy to you today. They're a company that's focused on exploring a portfolio of uranium projects in the Athabasca Basin. To give you an overview of the company as well as discuss upcoming plans, we have with us Jason Bernard from Foremost, David Cates from Denison, and Jordan Pearson from DeRouge Geological Consulting. Once the presentation is over, we will conclude with a Q&A session, so please put your questions into the chat box and we'll get through as many as we can at the end. Before we get started, I do need to mention the fine print. For Foremost Clean Energy, there may be some forward-looking statements made on this webinar. Please read the cautionary note on page 2 of the Foremost corporate presentation located on the website. For Red Cloud Securities, I would highlight that this webinar is for information purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation to purchase or sell securities or a recommendation to buy or sell securities. We note that this webinar does not take into account the particular situation or needs of individual investors. Participants should rely on their own investigations and seek their own professional advice before investment. Please see our most recent research located on our website for foremost specific disclosures. And with that, I'll hand it over to you, Jason. Please take it away.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us, everyone, and thanks my panel for helping me with this presentation. I've got a great crew here to help us tell the story of Foremost Clean Energy. So Foremost Clean Energy is a high-grade uranium exploration company with 10 option properties in the Athabasca Basin, the very prolific Athabasca Basin, known for some of the highest grade deposits and mines in the world. Also, I'll point out that we have Dave Cates here, who is on our board at Foremost Clean Energy. He is the CEO of Denison Mines, the $2 billion uranium developer in the Athabasca Basin, and he's been there a lot longer than me. He's over 10 years, and he's going to talk a little bit about the Athabasca Basin, and Jordan can tell us a little bit about geology in the Athabasca Basin. But part of our company, we have some lithium assets. We're very proud of those assets. We've had a lithium discovery, but our main focus is the uranium. It's all about the uranium now, and our strategic partner with Denison Mines. So there will be some forward-looking statements, so it's always good to read that slide too, so that you're aware of the possibility for that. So yes, in the Athabasca Basin, 10 properties. These properties are span between greenfields. A lot of them have had a lot of work done on them by Denison Mines and other companies in the past. So a lot of work. We've got uranium mineralization on a good portion of these properties. And we've been recently drilling, and I'll talk about some success we've had there in the Athabasca Basin on our 10 properties. Our corporate overview, I mentioned the 10 properties, the 45 claims in the Athabasca. And the Athabasca Basin has been, well, since the 1960s, mining uranium. There's been a lot of exploration there, and one of the more prolific areas in the world, known for its high grades. In the market, we've got a lot of tailwinds. I'm sure in the news you've seen that the Trump administration has put executive orders in place to quadruple nuclear power. We see the high-tech companies, even recently Mega, buying future billions of dollars worth of future power in nuclear power, and a lot of strong tailwinds. We'll talk a little bit about them as the presentation goes on, but it seems to be very good for the fuel that goes into nuclear power plants, future nuclear power plants in small nuclear reactors. And we've seen an uptick in uranium recently. We'll probably cover a little of that too. Overview does, and I've mentioned it, is most important. Our strategic partner owning over 17% of our company, Denison Mines. And our strategic partner helps us technically, financially. We recently did a $10.5 million financing, and Denison took $1.8 million of that financing. So technically they help us on properties that some of them they've explored themselves. So a great technical team, and that collaboration will be invaluable going forward. And it's already been invaluable because we hit on a step out uranium discovery in our inaugural drill program. That doesn't happen with many companies. I'm happy to report that we did do so, and we'll be following up after we look at and analyze all of our information from that step out on our Hatchet Lake property. I'll get to also Jordan to talk a little bit about that. So we do have some lithium assets to round out our corporate overview. These assets are in Manitoba. We've spent close to $20 million on them. We made a lithium discovery, and lithium is a commodity that we'll wait on right now. Not really performing as well as uranium, but if anyone has questions about the lithium, they can send me an email, and I'd be happy to answer them. Foremost and Denison, where vision meets value. I might, call upon Dave at this moment, because I've touched on the our most strategic shareholder and the collaboration, and maybe we can talk a little bit about it for the people that are joining us, Dave, and maybe you can expand a bit on it. Maybe, I don't know, say how we came to meet each other and why we were able to develop such a great relationship.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jason, and thanks to everyone for joining us for the webinar. I mean, Foremost is an incredibly exciting story that we're happy to be part of, and the genesis of our unique collaboration here is around Denison being very focused on advancing our mining and development assets in the Athabasca Basin. And of course, many of you might know of our flagship asset, Wheeler River, is on the cusp of being fully permitted and with a view of starting construction on that project the beginning of next year. And we'll be in mining, back in the mining business this year with our McLean Lake joint venture, returning to mining the McLean North deposit. And so as we've been managing our capital to focus on minimizing dilution and executing on our development mining projects, we realized that we had an incredible endowment of exploration properties that were unlikely to be worked in the next 3 to 5 years while we focused on development. And so we endeavored to find the right vehicles to allow for those projects to be explored. And Foremost is a great match for us, and one of the things that stood out for us, a couple of things that stood out, but one of the biggest ones was, 2 points that go together. One, Foremost's willingness to work the projects. That was an important element for us. We weren't looking to dump, non-core projects into a vehicle that would just be listed to allow promoters to say they've got uranium assets. That doesn't do anything from a Denison standpoint. What we wanted to do was have these projects worked because they have potential. We want to explore them, but we couldn't allocate capital to explore them over the next 3 to 5 years. And so Jason and his team appreciated the quality of the assets we would be vending in, and we were able to build a structure that requires Foremost to actually work the assets so that exploration occurs. And the second part was Foremost's really unique U.S. NASDAQ listing. As many of you would know, DNN is Denison's NYSE American listing, and we have incredible interest from the large market that is the United States of America. And to be able to then sort of leverage that with a really unique story here, and Foremost being the only Athabasca Basin uranium explorer code that's also listed in the U.S., we saw that having a great potential for us to bring a more junior story to Denison's existing followers that are following us from a mining development standpoint, and partner up with an exploration story for those same investors. And so the idea with the transaction was really to take good assets that had a lot of good historical work, that have targets that are ready to be followed up on, put it into another vehicle where that work could happen. And the structure in the deal has us maintaining interest in the projects. I mean, every one of the projects we will maintain a direct interest in, and we've become Foremost largest shareholder. So obviously not an exit by any means from these assets, but a means for us to amplify Denison's exposure to discovery on projects that we simply were not going to work for the next 3 to 5 years, but that we would be happy to see work on. So we have been providing technical support. As Jason mentioned, we're participating in the financings. Our intent is to be a large shareholder and to have a direct interest in the properties, and to make sure that the projects get the exploration dollars that they deserve over the next 3 to 5 years. So it's, I'm really pleased to see how the story has evolved. It took us a little bit of time to put the people and the assets together, work on the work, build the plans for the projects. And now here we are with a funded, ambitious 2025 exploration program where we've already started work. We've already seen positive results because this company is light years ahead of many of the new entrants into the space that have started by staking or optioning very, very early stage ground. Foremost has been able to leverage our work, and here we are, positive results, funded program, multiple projects being worked. It's exactly what we were looking to see. And we've also seen the liquidity tick up significantly on the US listing. So all those pieces have come together, and we're really pleased to be part of this.
Yeah, and the collaboration is everything. And just, we don't need to go too much into it, but one of the things that I'm excited about as the CEO of Foremost Clean Energy is, Denison's going to bring their Phoenix mine on stream at some point in the near future. And there's going to be lots of great news coming on that. And the ISR form of mining, that's new, that even though they've been mining for uranium since the 60s in the Athabasca Basin, I got to think for a smaller company that now we're lucky as a company to have a partner that could further develop a discovery and something that we've drilled off that looks forward to production. And we don't have to be expert miners to do so, because that'll be sort of your job. And do you want to touch on just quickly the ISR technology? Can it bring the capex down for a smaller company that wants to be a bigger company? And is it more profitable? We know that grade is margin in the business. That's why everyone wants to own a mine in the Athabasca Basin. Grade equals margin. They're all high grade there, so very profitable. Maybe you can touch on it.
Yeah, I mean, Jason, we've worked really hard in Denison over the last few years, really the last decade, to position the company for where we are today. And today we're situated with multiple development assets that are using multiple mining methods. And I think you flagged something that's really interesting from a collaboration standpoint. Finding uranium deposits is actually quite challenging, especially in the Athabasca Basin, where they are often high grade. It means that they don't have huge footprints. And so when you find one, being partnered up with someone like us, where we can bring experience and knowledge with multiple mining methods forward, means that perhaps the hurdle to an economic discovery is different. And so in our portfolio, our flagship asset is Phoenix, which is part of Wheeler River. It's an ISR amenable deposit, and we certainly lead the industry in advancing ISR mining in the Athabasca Basin. And it does offer lower capex, shorter timelines to construction, and lower OPEX. And so what that does is generally lower the hurdle for a deposit to become economic. We're also partnered with Orano on the Sabre mining method, which is a surface-based mining method that we're using at McLean Lake to resume mining this year. Similar sort of analysis, lower capex, might have slightly higher OPEX, but allows you to exploit, in the case of a McLean North, we're going to be mining a deposit that's in the range of 10 million pounds of resources. Now, we won't extract them all, But historically, that would have been seen as sub-economic. You could never mine a 10 million pound deposit in the basin. Well, that's not true today. And so we also can draw on the Sabre method. And then at the end of the line, you have conventional underground, with like our Griffin deposit, which is sort of next up in our development portfolio after Phoenix. And then you could even be back in the open pit business, although I feel like that's a little less in fashion these days. But the reality is that the threshold for economic deposits is different today than it was, a decade ago. The necessity of finding 100 million or 200 million pounds, like sort of Cameco's threshold, the work that we've done over the last decade has proven that wrong. And with the right knowledge and the right kind of geology and the geologic setting, there are ways to make these projects economic and not marginally economic. Some of these will have, can be smaller deposits with the right mining method, and they can have good margins and they can be good projects.
Yeah. Well, we plan to maybe help you with your pipeline of discoveries and deposits to go into production, and hopefully with that ISR technology. I love it. I love looking into it. We can, I might even call upon you two guys if we want to just touch a little bit on. Well, we know you have a lot of uranium. You've bought physical uranium, and hence sort of a almost like a uranium platform, and that's why you trade so well on the NYSE. Lots of cash. That cash is there to develop and help people like us go and find discoveries and develop discoveries too. So there's a little overview on that slide about Denison and some of the fundamentals in that company. Our value creation, we are drilling, and we're going to talk about hitting on a step out from where we've had uranium mineralization, how it's in unconformity style deposits in a second here with Jordan. But we're drilling, and we're funded for a $6.5 million exploration program. That's a decent program, and we're going to cover a lot of historical mineralization. We've announced today our Murphy Lake permit. We'll be drilling Murphy Lake, and we'll be going back to Hatchet Lake where we hit that step out that maybe has sparked some of the buying in Foremost recently. So far as these projects, Murphy Lake is fairly close to the Larock trend, Larock corridor, and everybody's got to remember we are searching for very high grade deposits, and along the Larock corridor is Hurricane's 46 million pounds of 34.5% uranium. That's the highest grade uranium deposit in the world. If I had to compare it with the rest of the world, they're mining things that are more like 0.2, 0.4. So really high grade there. And with all of our properties, they're discovery ready, they're drill ready. That's why we're getting permits quickly, and we're looking to go into our projects and create value for our shareholders. The small nuclear reactors, this is one of the reasons why we see those power hungry tech companies spend big money to go invest into uranium. Now they're putting money into traditional nuclear power plants also. Small nuclear reactors, this is where they can bring a smaller reactor closer to where the electricity is needed. And we know with all the data centers and the high tech and the more power that will be needed, it should create quite the demand for uranium. And uranium is in a supply deficit at the moment. We're not making enough of it each year for replacement value, and hence you're starting to see the uranium commodity tick up. So the small nuclear reactors that these companies have went from $500 million market caps to $5 billion market caps because of the excitement coming on stream. They actually aren't taken into account with a lot of the long-term contracts yet. Now they will start coming in. These small nuclear reactors, even though they're not in place, they'll start buying their uranium. And I don't know if anyone else wants to talk about the small nuclear reactors, but it's quite exciting. A lot of capital. Capital gets behind a certain industry, and there's a trickle down effect. And then, you know, if you're interested in these companies that have went to these astronomical market caps, it does trickle down to companies like Denison and like Foremost, whereby you can also buy uranium companies, uranium explorers and developers, and see a great return in the future because of all the demand for uranium and nuclear power.
Yeah, maybe Jason, just on that. I mean, there's only so many ways to be exposed to nuclear energy as an investor. You know, many of the power utilities have diverse mixes of power sources. And so the utilities, other than say like a Constellation in the United States, which is primarily nuclear, they don't offer the same sort of pure exposure to the nuclear energy complex as the uranium names do. And that's why you do see so much interested in the uranium names. The potential for SMRs is generally underappreciated. I would say in many of my discussions, investors kind of call it around the world, there's a perception that these SMRs are very far away from coming to market. That's just not true. You know, in Ontario here, we're already building what will be the first SMR in the G7, G8. It's been permitted by the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission. Site preparation had already been underway, and construction is either now started or starting shortly. This is a GE Hitachi unit that Ontario Power Generation is building, one of 4 that they have planned for the site at Darlington, which is just east of Toronto, where they already have large-scale nuclear. And so this is not a futuristic story anymore. The plan is to be generating power from this GE Hitachi unit before the end of the decade.
Yeah.
And more will come. And the beauty of these units is that the scale, as you mentioned, is maybe a little bit easier to locate in different places. Province like Saskatchewan, of course, they don't have enough people to justify large-scale nuclear, but they would certainly benefit from a 300 megawatt unit. That would be the SMR scale. And then really beyond that, there is an incredible potential for microreactors. Microreactors are much smaller. You know, you're talking somewhere in the range of 3 to 5 to 8 versus 300 megawatts. But those have applications at mine sites, rural communities. You know, even the electrification of Africa is the kind of thing that you could do without having to string distribution lines, by having villages or towns powered by their own microreactor.
Yeah.
Now, those are the longer term, but the SMR itself is here. The SMR is happening.
Yeah, I believe so too.
And the SMR
it's going to come on stream quicker than people know.
Correct.
Yeah, thanks for that.
The demand is there already.
Yeah, I believe so. It's and wait till it actually comes into that. I touched on the landmark executive order. All it's going to do is break down regulation that slows down projects, increases the cost. But this, for us explorers and developers in the uranium space, it should be huge for demand. So that's coming sooner rather than later, and obviously it's created a wave of good sentiment and investing in the U.S. So here we are, the Athabasca Basin. A lot of people may know about the Athabasca Basin. What I'd like to do, Jordan, if maybe you wanted to talk about what we're doing, what we've done in Hatchet. You've been there all along. It's great success on Hatchet. You know, maybe put your blue sky glasses on if we keep doing well like we're doing. What we may see future drilling, and also there's the Murphy Lake and some other properties that you might want to touch on. I'll let you
touch on that. Thank you, Jason. Yeah, so I mean, when looking at the Hatchet property there, and we're just seeing a lot of these hallmark of these known uranium deposits. We got the thick styles of alteration, obviously multiple intersections all over both the Tuning Fork as well as the Richardson claim blocks. So it's very exciting. We got these EM conductors, these brittle faults, paired with radioactivity, which a lot of other companies don't have. So it's very exciting. And then, with Murphy Lake, the proximity to the Larocque corridor, a bunch of untested electromagnetic trends there, along with during the permit release there, we have highlighted some exciting results from the past, and that was in 2015. We got 0.25% U3O8 over 6 meters, which definitely warrants follow-up, and that is open 400 meters along strike, both in the east and west direction. And then there was also some other intersections, a little bit more substantial, the 22.5 meters at 0.03, but it just shows that these systems are mineralized. We got the great rock types, so these metasedimentary rocks with these graphitic reactivated faults, some interpreted unconformity offsets. When you start to layer all these features, it really speaks to the prospectivity of both Murphy, which we're excited to get onto, and then the success of the Hatchet program. And then just to speak to the success, 6 out of the 10 drill holes that we did on their inaugural program intersected anomalous radioactivity with up to 28,000 counts. So when you start to pair all these things up, and that was drilled sort of in between 600 meters in between some historical drill holes. So yeah, it's a very exciting time to be drilling at Hatchet. Started to layer up all the alteration features. We're excited to get the analytical results back. Those are still in the prep phase. And then at the Richardson, as Jason had mentioned, kind of extending 50 meters to the northwest, still intersecting the zone that was intersected in 2014, and then having another little surprise deeper at around that 240 meters mark. So there's lots of good fluids moving through.
Yeah, and Dave, what did you think about our inaugural drill program? I know that all of our team, your team, we all worked together, but I was pretty pleased, and I guess that's not that common, but I think it's going to be common for us.
Well, they were very positive results, Jason, and I think they speak to our collaboration on this. I mean, you're not Foremost is not drilling fresh ground that doesn't have work to set it up for success. The typical exploration process for a property that's brand new can often require millions of dollars and years of geophysics and initial evaluation to learn about the structures that exist. And here Jordan and technical team is able to take not just the data from us, but the knowledge from our people working together to say, here are the areas that we thought were exciting from our most recent work. Here are the targets, and then basically putting all these mines together, prioritize the next best target to pursue for drilling. And sure enough, we had multiple positive results. So I don't think it can be lost that this would otherwise have taken time and definitely would burn through capital for a company that wasn't taking assets as advanced as these were and starting to work them.
Yeah, the collaboration in the 10 properties, half of them was showing mineralization, uranium mineralization. We really got a head start. And for anybody listening, you can't just go get these properties. It would take you years and millions of dollars to actually accumulate such a portfolio and then start to go work on it. So we're lucky that we're working together, and I'm glad the market is finally realizing that. Sometimes they don't look at how valuable these properties are until you start exploring on them. But yeah, it would take a long time to get this put together if you were doing it from scratch. So it's nice to hit the ground running. We do have lithium assets. We had lithium discovery. The stock did very well in the past, and we were able to do good things with our lithium assets. There's not a lot of cost of carrying here, so we'll wait. We're a clean energy company. We'll wait on our lithium properties and go back in and keep doing great drill programs. We did hit a gold discovery and a lithium discovery in one on our property, and we're going to go back in there because the gold was 7.5 meters and 7.5 grams, and that's quite amazing. And to hit lithium and gold near each other, on our Jean Lake property. We might get back in there later in the year. Stay tuned for that, but our focus is on uranium right now. I'll skip over the uranium projects. We're running out of time. The timelines are there. We're going to match or better our timelines. We're doing well as a company, so take a look. Here's our capital structure. So 6.8 million cash. We have about, well, for 15 million fully diluted, but let's call it 10 million shares outstanding. Tight share structure. Denison, our strategic partner, holds between 17 and 19%. And management, myself, we own, my family owns, I think around 6 or 7 or 8%. I've got to take a look. And then the rest of the board holding. So a good portion of that, almost 30%, with insiders. There's a little on the transaction summary. I'm going to, I think we're running out of time for questions. Here's our management advisors. We've got great management advisors, and you can see Jody DeRouge on there, who works with Jordan for DeRouge Geological. Recently, we've also brought on a new VPX, and that's Cameron, and I can't wait for him to get in the field with everyone and start doing well. He's had lots of success and had a good career with Hud Bay in the past. Here's our board, our board with David Cates and Amanda Willett from Denison on it, and rounding it out, Andrew Lyons, Doug Mason, and myself. Lots of capital markets industry experience. And just to wrap it up, you can see the investment highlights with great properties. Going to be drilling $6.5 million budget in place to go drill. So expect lots more news on drilling. We just announced the Murphy today. And now I guess we can leave it up to questions. Is there a moderator?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jason. Yeah, we can get started on the Q&A. And just a reminder to our audience, you can type your questions into the chat box at any time. So I guess a few questions, guys. First up, you've already put out results, well, gamma probe results from one hole, but maybe can you give us a sense of what's coming over the next couple of weeks, couple of months?
Might let Jordan.
Yeah, for sure. So I just got off the phone with the lab a few days ago. Things are still in the prep phase. Sounds like SRC is getting a large flood of samples, but fingers crossed that things are coming out fairly in the near future.
Okay. With today's announcement on Murphy Lake, I guess how do you prioritize, Murphy Lake or Hatchet?
Yeah, so for the way to prioritize that, I think we just want to take the full analytical results from the Hatchet program, digest them, incorporate them with the historical stuff, and then while also advancing the other properties such as Murphy.
Okay.
Yeah, I might be able to touch, or maybe even Dave, on that. One of the things is you need, when you go and have a successful drill program like the one at Hatchet, you need to then take a look at the information. The good thing is we can go and start working on another property that's got historical results and uranium mineralization on it. And this is the idea of having 10 properties. We can't just go drill one, wait for the results, and if it's not doing well, now what do you do? So I think Dave mentioned that having a pipeline of great projects is good for shareholders and company building.
Maybe on that note, David, a question for you. Given your history with all the projects, which one are you most excited about?
Yeah, well, look, I think we've aligned on the priorities based on, and you can see it in the way the work has been organized. So Hatchet certainly needed follow-up, and Jordan and co have shown why, and that project's got a long way to go, both on Richardson and at Tuning Fork. There's a lot of work to do on both of those target areas. We also like Murphy Lake. This is a property that's proximal to the Larocque conductive trend. We've seen great success there, both from ISO and Orano. We like that property. There's no mistake that that's sort of number 2 in the queue. And then bit of a sleeper that's in the queue, and I think maybe more of a favorite that would not be obvious, is a property called CLK. Both on the Denison team, and I know at the DeRouge side, there's great interest in getting out to that property. It's, if we called that third in the list, and you took that property and the historic results on it and compared it to most of the other players in our space, the results on that property are more exciting than most people have been able to achieve after several years of exploration. Almost lost in the portfolio of 10, but to Jason's point, it gives us this depth where we can be working the best target across multiple properties at any one time, rather than being sold out to a single property. I mean, Jordan, and Cameron McKay, who's joined as VPX, they'll have this enviable/unenviable job of looking at great target, figuring out which one they should go to be able to make the discovery. We do like having that pipeline. The other thing is it gives us news flow. You organize one program in one place, say Hatchet, the great results, we've got to reflect on those. The market doesn't want to have to wait 8 months for us to get going again. Guess what? Here we go. We've got Murphy Lake and CLK coming in the summer, so that we can continue to be testing real targets. And then after that, we can arm wrestle between the geologists on which target's the best for follow-up. That's an enviable place to be, rather than just focusing on one property and selling out to that. So I think all together that comes together. Those are the properties we're excited about, but each one is actually quite interesting. And I know Jordan could spend another hour talking about each of the properties and why we'd want to explore each of them. So we definitely have that pipeline to keep doing a 2-3 project mix every year to keep the story really relevant for quite some time.
Yeah,
so where are you on the permits for CLK?
Yes, the permits are submitted, and they're just in the final review. We're hoping to get them finalized and brought back within the next week here.
Okay.
Do you want to touch on the historical holes just quickly, Jordan, that are at CLK, and why it does interest us so much?
Yeah, 100%. So it's a little bit deeper in the basin, but that we do have an intersection right at the unconformity, so general same style of mineralization with these graphitic faults, shear structures that obviously excite everybody. Part of the mineralization story at 8,600 ppm U308, and that hole was drilled in 1997, again with that kind of older exploration model. So the basement also wasn't even tested to any reasonable depths. So we're excited to get on the ground, reproduce some of those results, and follow up with some of the targets that are going to be generated once we get the magnetotelluric data back, which is a survey that was just flown over CLK. So that'll be sort of integrated along with some of the historical results. And the data's not quite in.
Yeah,
we're ready to review and pair it all up.
Yeah, and I'll point out to people on the webinar, the thing about the Athabasca Basin is because and Denison is a part owner of the McLean Lake Mill, because we're surrounded by infrastructure. You hit a discovery and you get an automatic re-rating, and we've seen it time and time again where companies will go $150 million market caps just from their discovery. And so if you're getting hints of it, if you're doing well with your drill and it's looking favorable, know that the market will give you the credit you deserve and give you that re-rating when you do hit a discovery. So we're looking forward to bringing lots more drill results, and I'm glad I got a team that's got great ideas to go find those discoveries. So
Okay, I think that's it for questions.
okay.
Jason, Jordan, David, thank you so much for joining this webinar with us today.
Just thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having us.
Just as a reminder for our audience, our next webinar will feature Power Metallic, and that's on June 11th at 2 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for tuning in with us, everyone. Have a great day.